So, as far as those lines, I think we have organizations in place right now that need to be more fostered. There needs to be a better relationship between the mayor, the council, and civic partnerships. We have the veteran things that we do over at the senior center. I can even think of the things that where they're building, making the quilts and the hats and the shaken baby syndrome. We have all these types of things that we are already involved in. The Lions Club that was involved in our city. And everything's just kind of quieted down because it has not been fostered by the mayor or by the council. It's just, everybody's just kind of backed off and we're not doing anything. And I think that would be the number one thing, is to build on what we already have. Make those things more prominent. This is a great community. We have awesome people in this community and they bring so much to the table. We haven't been recognizing that lately. We really need to do that. Some people had some complaints about Mayor Rich when he was here, but I'm going to tell you what, he was the number one person who was involved in the city, he was involved in his community, and he fostered the programs that were here. And they were growing and they were benefiting all the citizens. Whether it was the youth program, the senior program, the ad hoc program with civic partnership, the Lions Club. We have so much already here that we can build on and do different things that will benefit all the citizens. This is just one group, it's everybody. Everybody would have an opportunity to be a part of that. And I think that's where you start. And you can grow from there and do different things, but that's the number one place I think that you will start. Work on what you already have.
Thank you. I'm going to rephrase some of the questions a little bit here. This one, are you in favor of the KC transfer station? I'm assuming that's the waste station. King County transfer station being moved to Pacific, and if so, what would you do to get it here?
So I have not heard it being moved to Pacific. I believe the locations were Algona and Auburn. So I don't know that moving here to Pacific. I imagine there may be opportunities for that. I would have to look into that. I couldn't just roll off an answer on for that. That is something that I've been kind of watching from the sidelines by attending the meetings with the Sound Cities Association, the Public Issues Committee. It's been discussed. And there's been a heated battle on where it's going to be in Auburn and moving it around. And I've been kind of watching all of that and not really looking at what if it came to Pacific. So I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to that transfer station in Algona. I haven't heard citizens around here complain about it, and I know that the way that they're designed, there isn't like the emissions or the smell. There's a lot of traffic, and sometimes you got to think about, if it went on West Valley, maybe we could mitigate that road to be fixed. I mean, there's things I think you could look at doing it, but I haven't really given it a whole lot of thought.
I haven't honestly taken a lot of look at it. I do not believe that Pacific is a prime spot for a waste transfer station whatsoever. We have a light manufacturing area to the south of us, residential to the north, where would we be able to put one? West Valley is paramount with a lot of wetland issues, as well as the hill slides and stuff like that. I just don't think we have the area, and I would be opposed to it. Now, if the citizens come to me and say, we want it, then we'll look at it, but personally, I would be opposed to it.
Thank you. You mentioned earlier about necessities provided by, this kind of ties in with this question, I'm just going to rephrase it. But you mentioned the necessities that should be provided by the government to the citizens. What do you feel are the city's responsibilities to the residents of Pacific as far as services?
Well, your basic services are making sure you have water, garbage, sewage, electricity. Those are the things that are requirements, making sure the roads, the best we can maintain them, so the transportation in and out of the city. I don't know how we can make that better, because both King County, Metro, and Pierce Transit are drying out just about everywhere as far as their, services to the communities. These are the issues that I see that we need to provide. Those are the basics we provide. the community services, you know, for our senior citizens and our youth groups. Those are services that we provide, you know. I don't know what else, protection to the police department. You know, we have a commitment to our citizens to make sure that they're protected. You know, those are basic governmental responsibilities. Other than that, you know, it's just whatever responsibilities that we can think of. I can't do anything else. You know, the community services and your basic responsibilities of maintaining a livelihood for your citizens. Not a job, livelihood.
Was your question about providing basic services? So I'll pretty much hit on it. I mean, police and fire are number one safety issues. Safety is a priority for our citizens. Clean water, clean, you know, sewer go away. You know, I mean, the basic services that you would normally support. Those are things that need to always be up front and foremost. Also, I think one of the services that you need to provide to the citizen is a stable, strong government, where you have council, mayor working together so that the citizens can trust in the government and trust that these services are going to be provided and make sure that they're looked after in a responsible manner to be able to provide it to the citizens.
Thank you. Civic needs to heal the divide between supporters and the former mayor. Last night, one of you said to finish investigations. The other said, ignore the past for a clean state. Could you elaborate a little bit on your stances?
So, I know I'm the one that said, I don't want to talk about the past, I want to start with a clean slate. I don't want to focus on where we were. I want to move forward. Not what we can do about where we were. We're going to identify what the issues are. We can identify what the problems are, the risks and liabilities that the city has incurred, and move from there. I don't want to spend a lot of time placing blame or wallowing in the past, I guess. I'm one of those that has a tendency to believe you're either a part of the problem or you're a part of the solution, and if I just consider myself as a part of the solution, I want to be working towards moving forward and not living in the past. What we do with the past is we learn from it. We take notes. We try not to make the same mistakes and try to move forward. So when I talk about a clean slate, that's what I'm talking about. I want to look at, okay, here's where we are. This is what we know to be true today. These are the facts. This is what we have to work with. This is what we build off of. This is how we move forward.
I believe that the government has a responsibility to be open and what they call transparent. That means if there's accusations or people believe certain things, they need to be expressed, identified, looked at, documented, and with that, that's all you can do as a government and as a citizen. Say, here's the information. This is what you presented. This is what we looked at. This is what we found. Anybody chooses to believe that answer, that is their decision. You cannot make everybody believe what you say is true. You know, there's a lot of distrust in the government. You know, and that's fine. You have to be cynical. You have to look at your players, the council, the mayor, and make sure that what they're doing is they're doing what you want them to do. But remember that there's 6,800 approximately of us in this city. We have to be responsible for all 6,800 of them, not just the 500 that supported side, and not just the 900 that supported the recall of the moving side. We have responsibility for all the citizens. And as such, we do, unfortunately, yes, I would like to have a clean slate move forward, but you don't want to drag that other stuff along. You have to clear it as best you can. Some of it you're never going to get completely clear. Some of it's already been investigated. So again, that would be This has been investigated, the auditors have reviewed it, here's the results of that investigation, and that's all we can do about it.
If you look at the audience, it's mostly European heritage. How would you reach out to other backgrounds and ethnicities and encourage them to participate more in the democracy in the city?
I don't know. How do you have to get everybody has to make their own decision to get involved. You know, it's got nothing to do with ethnic background. You know, it's got to do with how they believe, how they perceive. You know, and the only way you can do that is just to say, everybody, there's an opportunity for everybody to get involved. You just, they being us, have to step forward, just like we did when we got involved. And, you know, I say, you know, I've been here for 20 years, and I'm looking at about less than a decade that I've actually got involved. All right, so I'm one of those people that lived here, worked here, went to work, came home, took care of my kids, took care of my family. You know, I got involved in other things through my Masonic Lodge. I spent a decade doing scholarships for juniors at the high schools, running the program for a decade for the lodge. You know, before I came and got involved in the city. You know, but you can't make people get involved, and I truly don't believe it, other than their own view is how they're brought up. You know, if you're brought up with this trust of the government, and you have not had your ability in your life to see that change, you're going to bring that into your life. You know, as far as ethnic backgrounds, I think if we all look at our backgrounds, we're probably, you've been in this country, your family's been in this country for a while. I like to call I'm a mutt. I'm American. I'm English, Irish, Welsh, and I'm Cherokee Indian. You know, but it looks white. You know, most of it is. But I am American. That's what I am. You know.
So was I to understand the question as reaching out to well, we definitely have become a very diverse community. I know that there's a lot of different ethnic backgrounds that are in our city. Kind of an interesting story. Probably, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I was up at the Rio Blanco having dinner. And I was talking with the waiter and asked him about, hey, you know anybody has those dancing horses? I love those dancing horses. Have you seen them? They have them in the parade. They're just so cool to watch. Well, matter of fact, we do. We raise them. So I guess we're going to participate in our parade this weekend. But he was afraid. And I forgot that we have a bad reputation in statistics when it comes to the Hispanic culture. I'd forgotten all about that. That was a while ago. I didn't think that was still there. And he said, some of my friends are afraid to come to Pacific. They're afraid they're going to get arrested. And I was like, wow, really? That still goes on. It really surprised me. But I think the number one way that you reach out to the different ethnics, all I did was ask. That's all you got to do is ask. And they're excited. They're going to come, and we might even have, you know, music with them, with the horses prancing down the street. So I haven't heard the results of that yet. But it's just ask. We do have several different, I know that we have a pretty good sized Russian population as well. And I've learned that by being a part of the cities and schools, going to the Auburn School District and attending a cities and schools meeting, and how we have, not only here in Pacific, but in the Auburn School District area, that there are homes that only the children speak English. The parents don't speak English. They don't understand, and they have to use their children to interpret. And so it's really interesting. So one of the things that we might be able to help is through the children too, to get the parents more involved. I know we had talked about one of the things that we wanted to do here in Pacific is offer English-speaking classes. You know, because it's not a native language to a lot of our citizens. We have a big population that way. And I didn't realize just how much it was until I started talking and listening to what was going on at the school board and what they're dealing with, and how much of it is right here in our own community.
Thank you. If overspending earlier this year requires budget cuts in the second half of the year, where would you look for savings?
Well, I am hoping that is not the case. I know probably 2 years ago when we were looking at revenue shortfall and budget cuts, we did things like furloughs. And those types of things, we did not lay off any of our workers. They all got to keep their jobs. They may have got a little bit shorter pay, but they would keep their jobs and stay here. And that would probably be the first thing that I would look at is somehow can we work with furloughs, keep everybody employed. Our employees here at the city, they depend on this to feed their families. And for them to have to be worried about that, that's sad. And it's unfortunate, and I'm sure it is a big concern of everybody that does work here for the city. But I believe that we have the opportunity. And from the numbers that I'm seeing, the revenue is coming in. You just don't know where everything is as far as the budgetary situation. So I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case. But I would think before we start cutting drastically and people losing their jobs, we would look at other avenues that people wouldn't lose their job and the citizens have all the services that they need, and that the employees here at the city can count on an income to take care of their families.
Obviously, like she said, you don't want to see employees lose their jobs. Furlough is one option, but when it comes to a drastic reduction in income, the city is in and out. We have to have the money to pay the bills and do the job. We have to provide the minimum requirements. And what I'm about to say is a drastic evidence. If we saw our income slashed in half, then we would have to take the drastic measures. Like she said, the first step is to try to furlough, try to maintain your employees and your services. But the worst case scenario is we have to contract out and go with other organizations, other cities. We've looked at that in the past. We do interlocals, where we share services. Public works shared with, let's say, Milton or anybody like that. Those are avenues that we have. We would have to make those decisions. I do not believe that we're in that situation, but sometimes, worst case scenario, you have to make those hard cut decisions. But right now, I don't see that.
I need to do 2 more questions and then closing statements. Currently, the city has one marijuana dispensary operating. Currently has one marijuana dispensary operating. As we kind of stand on the verge of them becoming legal statewide, what would you do as mayor to kind of guide the city through that process?
It is a tough question. I know that the dispensary got in because of an oversight or a misstep really on the part of the administration and the council. We let the moratorium lapse, and in that window, they placed their dispensary down on Stewart Road. And it was not an intention. The majority of the council, and I don't know about all the citizens, but a lot of citizens have come to us and said they don't want dispensaries in the city limits. But the reality is this: dispensaries, medical marijuana, are becoming fact. As the state has made private use of marijuana legal, it's a conflict with the federal government. So it puts the state and the federal puts us in a bind. How do we comply with state law when we're out of compliance with federal law? But I'm 58 years old. I'm not aware of marijuana use. I was 17 and, in the 70s and things like that. It's just a way of life. But I don't want to see marijuana growing everywhere. I don't want to see it running rampant. I don't, like everybody else, I don't want to see our kids, you know, but it is becoming a reality, and we have to figure out what the best way to deal with it. The moratorium has worked because we're putting on the delay until we figure out the best way to deal with it. We're looking at other cities and jurisdictions and what are their rules and how are they dealing with it, and trying to find what best fits for the citizens of this city. And I know that James recently just sent out a letter to Ken Barnett asking that specific thing, where are we at, and bring forward to the council and the new mayor, what are the options, what are the ideas and suggestions, and what we will brought forward to the council. And then we got to work with the planning commission. If we're going to have them in, where do they go? How far away from, you know, schools and everything else like that we have to follow? It's a tough situation. I know it's going to be a tough situation for the police department. You know, so we have to be very careful and make sure we're doing it as right as we can, considering the consequences of the state and federal level.